So let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, The Occult View. I want to have a little early morning conversation about some things. So let's get right into it. I went back and I know this happened years ago, but I went back and I revisited, and I like to revisit things. And recently I've been revisiting Shahrazad Ali and all of the frequencies connected to her. But I also went back and I looked at, revisited the episode of Iyanla Fix My Life with DMX. And before I get started, I always like to put up a disclaimer, not because, I have to, but because I want to, because I want people to understand something. Whenever I'm speaking, most of the time it's not personal. It's only personal when it affects me or everyone as a whole. You understand what I'm saying? So this is not personal at all, and this is no disrespect to DMX, aka Earl, and because I feel like he wants me to call him Earl. This is no disrespect to Earl's um, memory or his legacy as a artist. By no means necessary. But we have to really understand what Iyanla was dealing with, and I don't even think she understood what she was dealing with. So in that episode, as we all know, it did not go that great. It didn't go that great. And one of the reasons it did not go that great is because it probably should not have gone, period. Even though his family reached out to her, Iyanla should have never put herself in that energy because she was not the right one to lead and to heal or to help heal or bring guidance about healing to that story. He probably should have had another man to talk to him because later on, when he went on to Dr. Phil's show, he was able to talk to Dr. Phil a little bit more. And that's nothing. Let me be clear. That's nothing against women. It's not about a woman not being able to do that type of healing work. But it's just that DMX has a lot of issues with women because he had mommy issues. So he had demons already in him that were there that Iyanla was not equipped to deal with. And I don't give a fuck who gets mad about that. People can always say that I'm this and I'm that, but she was not equipped to deal with those types of demons because he had an apathy towards women in general. Not because he was a so called evil person, it was because of the demons he was afflicted with. So, in that episode, when he kept saying to her he was not under the influence of any chemicals or alcohol, even though it appeared that he was, it's possible he might not have been. That was that demon. That was a demon that she was talking to. That wasn't Earl. That was the legions from that industry that has mounted demons onto him. He probably was not chemically influenced. He was probably coming down off of it, but he probably was not. I kind of want to believe that maybe he was not under the influence because sometimes being under the being how can I put this? Sometimes being under the influence or demonic possession it can make people believe that you're actually chemically altered when you're really not chemically altered, but it's something else going on. Maybe she knew it, maybe she did not. But I don't think that she was the right person to approach that situation, even though his family reached out to her. But I have been looking at some of the videos, going back and looking at some of the videos of people who interviewed her right after that dreadful interview well, that dreadful time she had with DMX. And this one woman that interviewed her was saying that she left that episode of Fix Your Life with DMX Earl being very upset with Iyanla. And Iyanla had to explain to her, well, you only saw 48 minutes. We were there for about 3 or 4 days. And she said that we waited for him for a day because the day that he was supposed to come, he did not show up. And then when he did show up, he showed up late. Now, this is not bashing him, but I don't understand why, and she was another woman, of course, why did she expect Iyanla to continuously take that type of abuse? And Iyanla explained to her, and I know a lot of people don't like Iyanla, and I know some people question Iyanla. I question her too. Nobody's above approach. Nobody's above it. Nobody. I don't care what your title is. People can have questions and people can have their own thoughts. That's one of the reasons why I don't care for Shahrazad Ali anymore, because the more and more I look at her, that's a demon. That's a demon. She wants people to listen and believe everything she says, and she doesn't want people to have their own thoughts. And if you have your own thoughts, she will shame you and say, oh, you're a slave up under white supremacy. And that's not true. What's being a slave or being a slave master is when you try to instill fear in people and insecurities and tell them, hey, listen, if you don't follow me and because I can set you free, then you're a slave if you don't follow that doctrine. But Iyanla explained to this young woman, once again, you only saw 48 minutes. We had been there for 3 days, and Iyanla went down the list. She said I was a black bee, I was a fat bee, I was a stupid bee, I was a dumb bee. And she said the security had to restrain her son, Iyanla's son, as they would have had to restrain me too, because her son is not accustomed to hearing men call his mother out of her name like that. They would have had to restrain me too. And even that would not have worked. So I don't understand what people expected her to do. And then I started really going into my spirit, and I said, the how can I put this? The ratchet world, the ratchet world of rap and thug life, they took out the boule. They took out the Black Boule. They took out the Black Boule, which was the black people with money, class, and sophistication. And they told people that you were wrong for having class and sophistication. And what they did was any man that had class and sophistication, they would wrongfully label him as being gay or being soft or effeminate. Any woman that had any class or sophistication, they would label her as being stuck up. Or even label her as being a prostitute. How you get all that money? How you get all that sophistication? You think you're better than people. And then they came in and they basically killed off the Black Boule. And then the Black Boule was replaced with ghetto ratchet people who have money. And I think that all of that was by design. There are a lot of classless people with money. There are a lot of classless people with money. They're in my family. And I know what people are going to think, oh, you're jealous. No, this isn't jealousy. This is calling out a Holocaust that we don't talk about. And that's the Holocaust of the Black Boule being eradicated and being replaced by ghetto, ratchet, low class people. That is what's being called out. So when I further examine that episode of Fix My Life with Earl, aka DMX, it just shows you how, because even Iyanla, let me back up for a minute. Even Iyanla was saying that the reason that he was so enraged was because he came there with an agenda. He did not come there to heal the relationship with his son and to open up the communications with his baby mom so that they could have a better relationship. Not intimately, I don't think, but just a better relationship for the sake of whatever children they had. Because remember, his son Xavier wanted a better relationship with him. You know what I'm saying? But Ayanla, she even said that he came there to really promote his name and to promote himself for his music and stuff. And when she was trying to go along with the healing process, he became enraged. See, I think that that interview was a setup. I think it was a setup. I think Iyanla was set up. And I even think that Earl probably was set up just for ratings and views because she said that she didn't know that that was the case. She didn't know that he was there to promote himself as DMX. But somebody knew that. Somebody knew that. Because in this conversation and interview with this young lady who said that she felt and left that interview with that segment of Fix My Life, the one that said that she felt, a little taken back and upset with Iyanla. Iyanla explained to her those who control the words and the movement of the camera or whatever she was saying. The analogy she was making was that those people who are controlling the strings are the ones who control the masses and how people think. So she was acknowledging that there was some manipulation that was going on that she was not privy to. There was some information that she was not privy to. She was there for the healing process. He was there to promote himself. And I think that somebody got in his ear and said, yeah, get on there and promote yourself. That's okay. And someone got in her ear and said, why don't you do the healing work for DMX and his family? That's what you're here to do. But the information was conflicting between them both because somebody wanted to see an altercation between them. And then let me also point this out. She said that DMX kept getting in her space aggressively. So that's another reason why I believe that that was a setup. But no. He probably was not inebriated or high or any drugs. That was those demons coming out. And anybody with a good spiritual eye, you can see that. Doesn't make him a bad person. DMX had been through a lot. Earl had been through a lot. He had been through a lot. And I'm not here to beat him up. He had been through a lot. And a lot of it was not of his conscious making. A lot of it was trickery. And then when he was getting himself together or trying to get himself together, he ends up passing away at the age of what, 50, 53, I believe, between 50 and 53. Very powerful occult numbers. There's something else I want to point out, and this is going to sound weird. But why does DMX remind me of Whitney Houston in some ways? Why does he remind me of Whitney Houston? I don't know. I also wanted to touch on this too. The other day I was talking about the different demons, the different here we go with demons again, the different created and manufactured demons. Because those people who are spiritless, they have no connection with the spiritual world. So they have to create manufactured demons. And a lot of the demons that we deal with sometimes are not even real demons. A lot of them are manufactured demons that are created. I was talking about the different demons that we as a global culture have had to face over and over again. But it's always been the same demon. Let's start out with the civil rights movement. Not the civil rights movement. Let's start out with Jim Crow. Like I said the other day, let's start out with Jim Crow. Oppression, racism, harming black people. Then that morphed into the civil rights movement. Then that morphed into the so-called hippie movement. See, I left some things out. That's why I want to revisit this. If you're wondering why I'm revisiting this, because I left some things out. That morphed into the hippie movement, where everybody loved each other. Then it went from the hippie movement to the Black Panther movement and the pro-black movement. So we're still in the 60s, early 70s. So from that, and for those people who say that time travel is not possible, oh, it's possible. Because I was listening to someone, and I like his videos, but he was saying that time travel is not possible. Oh, it's possible. But it's not possible in the way that you see it in Back to the Future or how they portray it in Hollywood. It's not possible in the drastic, dramatic ways that we have seen it in Hollywood. That is true. But time travel and time manipulation, it is possible. And I know that without a shadow of a doubt. It's not a think, it's not a no, it's what I know. It is possible, but that is our secret science as melanated people. But we went from Jim Crow, civil rights movement, hippie movement, Black Panther movement, and then out of all of that, which were all manufactured demons, it went from all of that, then it went into the crack era. Before it went into the crack era, it was the inner, inner city poverty and the impoverished inner city. Good Times. Good Times is a prime example of that. And also, let me point out something else about Good Times, because a lot of people miss the concept of Good Times. Good Times was not, of course, they were poor. And it's not about being happy, being in poverty and being poor. If that's what people get from that, then that's just what they get. What I get from it is this. Good Times was teaching people values, that just because you were poor, you didn't have to be classless trash, a lot like we see today. Because those poor people on Good Times, they respected each other. There was a community there. There was a community there. They respected each other. They came to each other's aid. They loved each other. And I think that is what people are missing. Everyone wants to look at the negativity and the stereotypes of not having money. But look at what Good Times was really teaching. It was teaching Black people that you didn't have to have money to have class or love or self respect. That is what Good Times to me was teaching. There was a certain amount of Black unity in that show as well that goes unnoticed. I'm not supporting and I'm not applauding poverty conditions, but eventually, what people forgot, they ended up getting out of poverty. Thelma married a football player. They ended up moving into a beautiful condo. So they ended up getting out of poverty. Just to point that out. Okay? So it went from the Black Panther movement, then more and more Black people were suffering within poverty, the inner city impoverished areas. Then we get into the early 80s or the mid 80s, and we have the crack epidemic and the AIDS epidemic. Then we get into the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and then you have Black on Black crime. That's running rampant through the Black communities throughout the United States and even in South Africa, from what I'm understanding. So this demon had a far reach, but it's all the same demon. It just put on a different mask. Then from Black on Black crime, Black men killing each other, it went from that, then it morphed into the war on terrorism in the early 2000s. Everyone was afraid of Al Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. Then from that, it morphed into COVID-19, the pandemic. Different scenarios, but the same demon. The same demon or demons. The same manufactured demons. Different time periods, different names, different scenarios, but the same demon or entity. Let's back up for a moment. In the late 80s, early 90s, they gave us the conscious community. That was another demon. Then in the midst of all of that, you had the Black on Black crime. You had the AIDS epidemic. Then, like I said, moving along into the 2000s, late 90s, 2000s, it was the war on terrorism. They had us afraid of terrorists, Al Qaeda, and all of these other entities. Then they started to recreate the demon of racism with all of the killings of Black men by police officers. Then now, the new demon is COVID-19 and other pandemics. Well, not the new demon, but the new mask. It's just one thing after another. Same demon, different mask, different day. And then you have people telling you, oh, you need to follow me because I can set you free. How can you set someone free when you can't even set yourself free? So, what's really going on? They killed off the upper class blacks, the Boulets, the upper class, the upper echelon blacks. They killed them off. They removed them and they forced them into poverty. And they replaced them with low class, ghetto ratchet types of black people. And that is who we are told to look up to. We are told to look up to ghetto, ratchet, low class people. Back in the day, back in the day, there is no way that some of these people that are on TV now, they would have never been on TV. I'm not going to name any names, but I'm just saying. Some of these people who have made it to TV, back in the day, they would have never made it to TV. Back in the day, they would have never been cultural icons to look up to, some of these people, because they don't have the class. They may have the cash, but they didn't have the class. See, money does not buy class. Money does not buy class. And that's just the truth. Jennifer on Basketball Wives, Jennifer, I think her name is Jennifer Williams on Basketball Wives. Jennifer really should not be on there because Jennifer has too much class to be on there. That is why those other girls are always coming for her because they are classless. If you notice, classless, low budget, low low class, ratchet people, they are always coming for the people who they think have class because that is who they aspire to be. And when they cannot be you, they will attack you and try to suck your energy. When I go back to the movie Hellraiser, the first two in particular, Hellraiser was all about jealousy, soul sucking, and classism in some ways. Larry, Kirsty's father, he had class. His brother Frank was classless, even though they were brothers. He was classless. Julia was classless. Larry's second wife, Kirsty's stepmother. Julia had an affair with Frank, and she had sex with Frank on top of her wedding dress. Not long before her wedding to Larry. She was classless. Julia was jealous of Kirsty because Kirsty was upper echelon and she had class. So Julia really wanted to knock Kirsty out the way. Frank was attracted to Kirsty, his own niece. But these were low class people, and they were all jealous of Kirsty. Frank was jealous because he couldn't have her. He couldn't find a woman that made him feel whole. He wanted his own niece because he couldn't find a woman that emulated that innocence and purity and that upper echelon of class. Because we all know that Frank was a sadist and a sexual deviant. Even though his ass was fine as shit back in the day, the guy that played him, Sean Chapman, he was fine as hell back in the day. That was one white boy that could have got it. But that's another story, child. But I'm just giving you an example of what I'm talking about. And then to show you how classless Frank was and is, Julia was helping him to regenerate himself and bring him back to life. And then once he stole his brother's skin and left the brother to the Cenobites, the demons. And then he betrayed Julia after he didn't need her anymore. Because what he really wanted was, he wanted Kirsty, his niece, the one with class. And a lot of time, classless women will target women with class. It's the same thing with classless men. They will target men with class. They'll try to shame you. They will try to bully you. If you don't want to be bothered with them, they're going to try to force themselves into your energy. When you don't want to be bothered with them. And then if they have more money than you at the time, they will try to shame you for not having enough money or a sufficient amount of money. But at the same time, these very same people are jealous of you because they have the money, but they don't have the class and the respect that you do. Money's not going to buy you respect and class. There are many people that hit the lottery for millions and millions of dollars, but doors are still closed in their face. Because money alone will not open up doors for you. Class opens up doors for you. Prestige opens up doors for you. Boule opens up doors for you. And if you ain't got those things behind you, you're just a classless person with funds. Anyway, that's all I really need to say. I just wanted to come through and say that. And now I'm done. Have a good day.